Activision hasn't had a very good track record with remasters. I mean, just look at the prototype Biohazard bundle, and the endless controversy with Call of Duty 4. However, my heart has a soft spot for Treyarch, their classic zombie maps, and the fun usually associated with said combination. This will also be the second time that they release a DLC during the product cycle of an Infinity Ward game. All the maps feature their own unique-ish round start music that invokes the particular theme of each location. The remastered visuals in the World at War maps didn't really knock my socks off. Verrückt is probably the best of the three from an artistic standpoint, with the tone of a ruined asylum enhanced with flickering lights and busted up walls. Knockdown Toten shares the flickering lights, but I found them to make the first floor too dark, a situation where the developer chose atmosphere over gameplay utility. Shi no Numa was probably the least unchanged from its previous incarnations, with some added music from Zetsubo no Shima and increased hindrance of movement when walking through water. The Black Ops 1 maps are where this collection really shines in my opinion. If you've played that game, you're familiar with the washed out color grading that was used to make the game feel more period specific. While all that junk isn't necessary in Black Ops 3, so everything is presented in its true saturated glory. Colors pop, textures contrast, and environments feel fresh and new. When you turn on the power in Kino der Toten, the roof rumbles and breaks more noticeably as crawlers descend. Another interesting touch is that the big screen on stage shows a live feed of what people are doing in the Pack-a-Punch room, which will give you something to look at when you're down because you were left behind. I think the developers made a mistake with Ascension because they remastered those monkeys that steal your perks, which is just awful, and I think it should be patched immediately. Until then, the addition of Der Wunderfizz really throws them off. You can get Deadshot Daiquiri, and more importantly, Double Tap, and since those perk machines don't exist on the map, the monkeys can't get to them. The original black and white filter that is active until the power is turned on has been modified to show some reds as well, which in my opinion doesn't make the transition between the two as dramatic. Also, this may be nitpicking, but the warning lights on the map just seem to revolve around the outside of their bulbs, instead of emanating from within. There was also some displeasure from fans when they found out that Call of the Dead and Mob of the Dead were not going to be included in this DLC, something that may be exacerbated every time they play Shangri-La. I'm not saying it's a bad remaster. The jungles are lush, and the caves are dark. The minecart and water slides are great fun. But it's just that there were some maps higher on the remastered list that should have superseded it. Moon looks excellent in this DLC, and it's definitely my favorite map to play on. Colors you didn't even appreciate before are presented front and center. The round start music sounds like you're waiting in line for Space Mountain at Disney World. Perfect for that 60s version of futuristic. I'm not a big fan of the redesign of the lab section though, mostly the first two floors, because I don't think there should be that much wood on the moon. Also, the absence of PhD Flopper is felt most on this map because of the gravity lifts in the biodome. It almost makes them unusable because there's no good way to mitigate the fall damage. Sure, you can buy Jug to survive the fall, but your vision will be bloodied and you'll be vulnerable to zombie hits. I feel Treyarch should have turned down the fall damage scales, at least in this area, to make it more playable. Origins is best described as the double-edged sword for remastering. Since it's the newest map of the 8, there's not that much of a difference between the versions. Zombie blood looks worse in this one though. However, since this map is the nexus for Black Ops 3 zombies, it fits in the most with gobblegum machines and 2065 weapons. And since Treyarch always pulls out all the stops for their final DLC map for each game, this collection wouldn't feel complete without it. Besides the 8 maps, the DLC will give you 20 vials of liquid divinium, which probably should have been 30 or some other number divisible by 2 and 3, 2 new gobblegums, of which the color changing one is utter garbage in my opinion, and several Pack-a-Punch skins from Der Eisendrache. I would have preferred the ones from Black Ops and Will of Warnstead. The bootlegger MP40 SGG-44, MX Garand, and PPSH-41 are all in the mystery box in the World at War maps. The M16, Galil, Fafar, and MP40 are in the mystery box in the Black Ops maps. And Origins breaks up a little bit by having some weapons on the wall like the MP40 and SGG-44, and then having the MG08 and M1927 in the box. All wonder weapons that originally appeared on maps have returned, like the Wunderwaffe DG2, Thundergun, Shrinkray, Wavegun, the staffs, Gerstdevice, and QEDs. The Raygun, and most importantly, the Raygun Mark II, are on all 8 maps. I think they should have brought back a few more of the old weapons, but what really bothers me, and this isn't new, is that none of these guns were added to the weapon kits, so you can't customize your attachments and skins. As I mentioned before, PHT Flopper is not included in this map pack because flopping is not possible in Black Ops 3, but they have replaced it with Widow's Wine on the maps where it appears. Their Wunderfizz also appears on the first 5 maps, as well as Origins. The largest change to the gameplay is the zombies themselves. To start with, they sound weird, unlike they have been in previous maps and installments, but it's really how they behave and move. The whole experience seems easier, and not just because of the gobblegums. Here, take a look at me and 3 other randos in Area 51 on round 5. We were out there for a while just mowing down zombies, and they didn't get harder to kill, and at one point they stopped spawning in for about 10 seconds. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Actually, it could be nice to have a more enjoyable time reliving these maps. I just thought it was an important observation to mention. And of course, there are achievements to discuss. Now, a reasonable person would assume that the pattern of Black Ops 2, where $15 gets you 250 gamer score, still holds true. Makes sense, right? Well, someone tell Treyarch or Xbox, because $30 only gets you 180 gamer score. What? What? So, that means that killing a space monkey with a fire trap is worth the same number of points as completing the Origins Easter egg? It's crazy, and if you look into it a little bit more, you find out that none of the previous DLC for Black Ops 3 had 250 gamer score. It's not even following any pattern at all. 165 here, a 210 over there, for a grand total of 1,950 points. You think for $80 of DLC, it should be 2,500, right? Come on, Treyarch, you can do better than that. So who is this DLC for? Well, I would primarily say it's for people that love Treyarch zombies, and have been wanting remastered maps ever since they saw that teaser trailer for Origins. But it's also for people that enjoy Black Ops 3, and have even never played these maps, or they can't get old games like Black Ops to run on their PS4. In a way, it's the lazy gamer's dream, because when it's all said and done, you can get 14 maps on one disc, leaving you with a plethora of different options for you and your friends to play without ever having to get off the couch.